welcome back to Plant-Based News. It's Miles here from Healthy Crazy Cool. Today I'm going to be sharing with you an amazing post-workout smoothie.
People started asking me, oh, have you been working out? And I'm like, I actually haven't been working out. I just stopped eating animal products and now I have abs.
That I lost a lot of weight. I lost approximately 50 pounds without even trying, just naturally from transitioning to a plant-based diet. I used to suffer from really bad acne, both on my face and on my body, and that completely went away.
I have absolutely no time for empty gestures from a corporate movement that has completely lost its way. Where are the bold campaigns in animal rights today? I'm not talking about stripping off your clothes or putting on some fancy gala. I'm talking about real action. It doesn't exist. Weak leaders have developed weak followers.
À-bas-le-ciel.
Hey guys, this video makes 2 points, briefly, and then presents you with a contrast of what plant-based news could be and should be. Because there really is important news to be covered in the movement. There are important questions to be asked, and based on the one conversation I had with Klaus, the man behind Plant-Based News, I think it's actually the mission he wanted to take on when he started the channel. What Klaus has said to me directly, we only spoke once, was that what he aspired to be was like a certain investigative journalist in England. I didn't know the name, I don't watch British TV, but I googled it after the fact and I found out who he was talking about. And it's sad that the one example he talked about excitedly, that he thought showed his potential to do this kind of journalism, is a video that's now been deleted from his channel. It was his interview with Charles Marlow, also known as the Vegan Cheetah. He was very proud of the fact that he felt he had cross-examined Charles Marlow about important issues of the day. I think we can all say now, looking back, those were not the important issues of the day, and that's why this video ends with a contrast. I've edited together some clips from another vegan channel called Shark that is addressing fundamental problems in veganism as a movement that we need a news channel to report on. All of us need to be kept up to date. No one man can do this. It would be wonderful if we had a sincere news service talking about, news, but also fundamental problems and questions within the movement. Because in some ways the movement is growing, but in some ways the movement is hollowing out. And in the second half of this video, you'll hear more about that. What Klaus is doing today, what you're getting on Plant-Based News, is very far from that aspiration he stated to me. His aspiration to do legitimate investigative journalism about and for the vegan movement. Instead, what Klaus is doing is just as bad as what Freelee was doing 2 years ago. It's just as bad in two important respects. One, even in a video as harmless as his recent video about the science of making a healthy smoothie. You may think this is a ridiculous thing to criticize, but it shows the fundamental problem with what Klaus does and how he does it. There are pseudoscientific claims made again and again throughout that whole video. And all I had to do to debunk any one of them was consult Wikipedia. Freelee, likewise, built an empire, quite a lucrative empire, selling ebooks and, in effect, presenting motivational lectures that were based on lies. Pseudoscientific claims about the vegan diet, about health benefits, and also just straight up scaremongering that comes off of the sub-basement of internet chat forums. Ideas like, famously, or something I criticized at length on this channel, the idea that garlic contains a neurotoxin.
The reason we're adding pineapple, and specifically why we're adding the core of pineapple, is because pineapple contains a very, very powerful antioxidant, an anti-inflammatory antioxidant called bromelain. Bromelain is great for your joints, for your digestion, and also for muscle recovery. The thing is about pineapple is that most of the bromelain is held within the core, so you can either juice it or blend it.
The claims made in this video about the chemical bromelain are entirely false. And I debunked them with 5 seconds of research. That's something Plant-Based News isn't doing and that they aren't willing to do. Why is that? What is the meaning of news? And at what point did Klaus totally lose his sense of moral compass and purpose that motivated him to start this channel, and that he told me about with sincere enthusiasm the last time I talked to him? Is that really too much to ask? That you would do fact-checking the way even the lowest and the worst newspapers do before presenting this sort of thing as news? Because I know that you agree with me, Klaus. You've talked to me by email and by Skype. I know that you agree with me in seeing it as deeply problematic what Freelee did in hyping and promoting the vegan movement on the basis of pseudoscience and lies. I know that this is something you criticized and you opposed, and that you started off with a mandate to be better than that. The second factor I wanted to mention here, as many of you will have noticed, is that Klaus has himself started promoting the bikini body myth of veganism. And those videos, I did force myself to watch them before presenting this critique. Believe me, I would have preferred to just fast forward through them and not have to watch the whole video before saying this. But I do fact-checking. I do my due diligence before coming here and presenting criticism on the internet. They're full of the sort of lies that I do think in your own private life have to go unchecked. If you have a coworker at the office who lost 50 pounds and they tell you they did it effortlessly, you know what? That's fine. You're not going to cross-examine them. You're not going to fact-check them. You're not going to say, well, come on, what do you really mean by effortlessly? If someone tells you, a coworker, a cousin, that they cured their cystic acne with a vegan diet, you're probably not going to cross-examine and fact-check them and say, okay, which medications were you taking? What type of facial scrub were you using? You're probably not going to try to falsify, to fact-check, to prove or disprove these claims. But again, the basic concept of a news channel is that you're better than that. You're better than water cooler talk. On some level, even if it's a so-called white lie of this kind. And the bikini videos that he's now promoting, they are just a stack, beginning to end, of this kind of white lie to promote veganism. Even if this is something you wouldn't challenge somebody on water cooler talk, I know that Klaus is aware that we know of a long legacy of precisely this type of lie within the vegan movement. I know that he's aware of the insidious way in which it discredits us all, in which it makes us all look foolish and all look ridiculous. And yet here we are, sort of just 2 years after lifestyle activism, as promoted by Freelee, fell apart. I think Klaus was kind of there to celebrate the end of that paradigm, and I see him reviving it. I don't really fault some of the women who are in that video for saying these sort of flattering half-truths on their own channel. But I think the question is, for people like us, people like Klaus, people like myself, why would we uncritically propound and promote those half-truths? Why would we package it up with the veneer of respectability of journalism, of investigative journalism, like Klaus claims he wants to do, and present this positively as part of the present and future of the movement? I really see what Klaus is doing as morally quite different in character than some of the evasive half-truths, like when someone says in the middle of that video that they lost 50 pounds effortlessly on a vegan diet. That's not a promise we should be making as activists. That's not a claim we should be presenting as journalists or critics from the movement. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give you a link below this video to Shark. I've edited together here clips from a number of longer videos. There are really important news stories that really need investigating. There are false claims being made within the movement, and they need invigilating. I think all of us need inspiration. I'm not saying that all the news is bad by any means. There are victories being scored for the vegan movement, and there's a role for a news service in celebrating those things also. But it's a goddamn shame that all of that news, good or bad, you won't find on Klaus's PBN, Plant-Based News, On the contrary, what you're going to find are exactly the same kind of things you used to find on Freelee's network. Lies, pseudoscience, false health claims, and exaggerated, indeed preposterous claims about how this ethical and ecological movement is going to give you a bikini body effortlessly.
Hi folks, I'm Steve Hindy for Showing Animals Respect and Kindness. We've received a number of letters and emails from our supporters who know we weren't at the National Animal Rights Conference last year, inquiring whether we will be there this year. The short answer is no, and in this video I will attempt to explain why. 12 years ago, in 2006, I was inducted into the Animal Rights Hall of Fame at the National Animal Rights Conference in Washington, D.C. It was an interesting experience. It's nice when others acknowledge your work, and I won't deny that I appreciated this gesture. In the years since, however, I've watched the movement diminish itself, in many cases changing its focus from helping animals to making money, and sometimes committing outright fraud. Much like the megachurch, the leaders of the animal rights movement are out for their followers' money, despite what they're preaching. There are still great groups and individuals working for animals, but they aren't the ones getting the vital support. The real money is going to the bullshitters. In some cases, people who started out as great frontline activists making real change have been swallowed up by big groups and subsequently allowed themselves to devolve into bureaucrats. Those groups have abandoned their skill at making change for the animals, working instead to hone their skills at fundraising. And then there are the hustlers and the outright con artists for whom money was always the focus, not stopping animal abuse. In April 2017, Shark uploaded a video exposing scam artist and PETA co-founder Alex Pacheco, who now runs an organization called 600 Million Dogs Needs You. The focus of 600 Million is a cookie, which has supposedly been in development for a couple of decades that would sterilize a male or female cat or dog.
In your 2011 IRS 990 tax form, it states that you gave $40,000 to a single person somewhere in Central America for, quote, formula clinical trials. In your 2012 990 form, you again sent $20,000 to Central America.
I've called Alex Pacheco a scammer before, and I'm calling him that again now. But there's always the possibility that I'm wrong. So here's an offer for you, Alex. This is $10,000 in cash. It's not Shark's money, it's mine. And I'm willing to give it to you if you will show that your claims are real. If you decide to take me up on my offer, I will supply a well-known sterilization expert, someone with impeccable credentials to examine your information. All the expert will have to do is render a professional opinion that your claim is viable. If the expert says yes, this is a real endeavor, this money is yours. Today there are groups and individuals who haul in donations based on what they're going to do, but then there's no follow-through. Will Potter claims to be an award-winning investigative journalist. In June 2014, Will Potter announced he was going to raise money for a drone project through a campaign on Kickstarter.com. Will Potter stated he would use the drones to watch over factory farms. Potter called the campaign Drone on the Farm. On March 2, Kiyomi Shimizu pointed, "It's very frustrating when project starters disappear. This is actually one of the projects that have completely put me off using Kickstarter altogether." On March 5, 2015, Potter posted about an upcoming Kickstarter party that would include vegan pizza, snacks, and beers. On March 10, Will Potter posted that the Kickstarter party had been a success, and he included pictures. That was the final Kickstarter update. As time went on, the complaints continued. The updates did not. Some groups are now selling donors on algorithms that they claim will tell you where to send your donations to the most productive groups, which coincidentally just happen to be connected to the people producing the algorithms. Who is stupid enough to believe this insanity? Many of the so-called movement leaders aren't directly running these scams, but they have failed to speak out about what is going on. They aren't leaders at all because they've quietly sat by and watched the movement be decimated for fear of offending a donor with the truth about the scams. The National Animal Rights Conference is a reflection of the worsening state of the movement. It once had a mission of turning out better activists, but now I see a conference that works to churn out profit. People who were once encouraged to get out and campaign for animals are now encouraged to buy trinkets, vegan food, and t-shirts. Partying into the night is the new activism. You just talk a good game while you drink yourself silly. In the face of unprecedented information about the horrors to which animals are subjected worldwide, we find perhaps the most glaring example of delusion and hubris of the National Animal Rights Conference in its final plenary, which is titled, "We're Winning." Big animal groups today are focusing time, effort, and money to market themselves, paying for media coverage and schmoozing donors as opposed to actually working for the animals by conducting investigations and working to stop cruelty and killing. Falsely claiming the animals are winning gives the impression that real action is no longer required, when nothing could be further from the truth. Where are the bold campaigns in animal rights today? I'm not talking about stripping off your clothes or putting on some fancy gala. I'm talking about real action. It doesn't exist. Weak leaders have developed weak followers. Go out to the killing fields and see how horribly the animals are actually losing, not winning. I have absolutely no time for empty gestures from a corporate movement that has completely lost its way and has had its collective head planted firmly where the sun doesn't shine.
À-bas-le-ciel.